Right now, the latest on Syria. Few, if anybody, disputes anymore. The Syrian government used chemical weapons on their own people, killing more than 1,000. But should the U.S. have a military response, and what should it be? Now, what would it do to Syria and the region? Just a list of some of the many, many questions ahead of us. We have got the latest, and we will speak with a military expert on what a use of force might look like, and much more on Saturday's stunning announcement from the president. He's convinced that Syrian President Assad is to blame and that we have to do something. But what that something is, we will talk about tonight as Congress wrestles. Was that the right move, punting it to Congress, or was it a political cop-out? And what should and will they do? And later, how about forgetting a runoff? Could the next Tuesday produce a walk-off for Bill de Blasio in the Democratic primary for mayor? New poll out says that could just be the case. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us this Tuesday evening, September 3rd. We start here tonight with that massive surprise on Syria, and it all came for the president on Saturday.
I will seek authorization for the use of force from the American people's representatives in Congress.
Well, with that here, I want to bring in Andrew Whitman. He's been following the very latest on what's going on in Syria. And Andrew, we've got developments here, but more than anything, it's been a stunning change here from what we thought on Friday was going to happen to where we are today.
Well, and here's the really curious part right now, Rich. There's so much we don't know about how this is going to play out in Washington. And this is completely unusual. It's a coming vote on military action, and neither we nor leaders from either party seem to know if it's got the votes to pass. And this isn't a party line issue either, meaning the White House is already in full gear trying to line up the votes it needs so they can begin the mission in Syria that they want.
Top Republicans are starting to line up in support of President Obama's call for a military strike against Syria.
The use of these weapons have to be responded to, and only the United States has the capability and the capacity to stop Assad.
But there is still significant skepticism from lawmakers.
We, as the United States, have resources that no other country has, but we can't be a sheriff for the whole world either.
And from the American people. A new ABC News Washington Post poll found that nearly 6 in 10 Americans oppose unilateral U.S. missile strikes against Syria. So this week, the White House has launched a major effort to make its case for military action. Today, Obama national security officials went before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
The authorization that President Obama seeks is definitively in our national security interest.
And this morning, President Obama met with top lawmakers at the White House. He said the consultations with Congress weren't just lip service.
By shaping the authorization to make sure we accomplish the mission, we will be more effective.
The U.S. says nearly 1,500 people were killed, including at least 400 children, in a chemical weapons attack outside the Syrian capital of Damascus last month.
This is not Iraq, and this is not Afghanistan. This is a limited, proportional step that will send a clear message.
Couple of points to follow up on. First, even though John Boehner says he supports the president on Syria, he also told reporters he thinks this is a conscience vote for other Republicans in the House, so they won't whip votes for the president. Boehner says that right now is all on the White House. And that ABC poll showing opposition to missile strikes is in line with Friday's poll showing 50% opposition to any action against Syria. That makes Syria the least popular, most opposed military action in the past 30 years, going back to Grenada and including in Iraq twice, Afghanistan twice, and even Kosovo. But with nearly 80% of Americans saying they think Congress should approve any strike, perhaps a go vote from lawmakers might make a strike more popular, which is why all eyes are on the Senate right now. Secretaries Hagel and Kerry are testifying. These are live pictures from Washington before a Senate committee trying to whip up some votes in the Senate there, Rich.
All right, Andrew, thank you. And it looks like the votes may be there, but there are a lot of other questions surrounding how we got to where we are and also, as we said, where we'll go from here. So tonight we will hear from a congressman about not only his role, but his elected body's role and reluctance. We'll also hear from a military expert to help us navigate between bad and seemingly worse options. And of course, we're going to hear from our panel, who I'm sure will tell you what the diatribe you're about to hear me unload is both wrong-headed. That all said, here goes. President Obama, I believe, indecisive Potomac two-step is a dangerous dance that not only hardened the worst suspicions of his malleable spine, but a weakened America's standing and the office of the presidency today, and for that matter, for future occupants. Worst of all, he has only himself to blame. Now, if Syria isn't our fight, if chemical weapons aren't our red line, fine. Stay out of it and tell the Middle East to police their own and the rest of the world to clean up the mess. But the problem is, Mr. President, you didn't do that. You drew a line in the sand. You promised payback. You talked of moral atrocities. You sent your Secretary of State out time and time again to warn of the dire consequences of inaction, and you even had him draw parallels to appeasing Hitler if we didn't send strikes into Syria. You made it clear Assad had his fingerprints on hundreds of dead kids, and you made sure we knew you had the War Powers Act on your side. You did all that, and you waited. Then you waited some more. And into that void of indecision, self-interested frauds like Russia and China condemned you, and with a height of hypocrisy, they actually preached diplomacy. Well, you waited some more. Then Parliament humiliated David Cameron, further chipping away at the credibility of the mission. Then, of course, Congress chimed in saying, why don't we get a vote? So here we are. 535 commanders-in-chief in Washington deciding a telegraphed mission with predetermined limits in a region and a world unclear if our words and our deeds are one and the same. Attack. Don't attack. You are the commander-in-chief, and the ultimate authority, it rests with you. And I'm sorry, it comes with the job description. The Congress you so rightly condemn, you've now entrusted with deciding for you and, for that matter, potentially future occupants of your office when they can or can't act in what they believe is America's best interest. You just may win this political dance, but there will be a long-term price that is on your tab. All right, that's my 2 cents. Now, as we move ahead, with any decision on Syria, at least for the moment, in the hands of Congress, it means, as I said, that all members, the Senate and the House, 535 all told, they'll all have a say. And since the ramp up to possible strikes against Syria began, no one has been more outspoken against the intervention, and this isn't going along typical party lines, than one of the president's biggest supporters, none other than Harlem Congressman Charlie Rangel. Well, I spoke with the congressman earlier today. Here's what the veteran Democrat had to say. Friday night, when you turned off the lights and went to bed, didn't you fully expect the next question with Syria wasn't going to be if, but when we did strikes?
I did, but I cannot tell you how pleased I am that the president took a deep breath and recognized that going to war requires the support of the Congress. And so he has done that, and that's the way it should be. And it's unfortunate that so many presidents have violated this constitutional requirement.
Now, regardless of how somebody feels about whether the strikes are justified or not, this same president said he had a red line. And if they crossed it with the use of chemical weapons, they were going to go too far. He said it was not sustainable here if, in effect, they used those weapons and we had to act. In fact, our credibility, he said, would be at stake here. Now, again, good and decent people can disagree whether or not we should take military strikes. But you'll agree the White House screwed this up. If they didn't want to do this in the first place or they wanted to go to Congress, they certainly would have communicated differently to both America and the world. Don't you agree?